Now batting for the Reds, number 44, the shortstop, Ellie Thrill.
Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. That's Ricky. I'm Roger. We got this going. It's Wednesday at 8 p.m. and we are live. And, last time we were talking, Ricky, last week, we're like, okay, we're going to have Rule 5 stuff to talk about in terms of protection because the deadline passed yesterday for adding guys to your 40-man. But a lot more news has happened as well since then. So we've got a ton to talk about with your Red Legs. And also we got a guest coming on, a guy that Ricky's worked with a lot at Chatterbox Sports to do pregame, to do Reds coverage and whatnot. Mr. Mike Hart will be joining us in the middle of the show sometime. So we are glad to have him to talk about Red stuff as well. We are coming to a point of the season or a point of the off season that it should start to heat up, I guess, with news. I guess we should expect it a little bit, Ricky, because it's almost hot stove time where people are going to be signing free agents. There's going to be a Rule 5 draft in a couple weeks. We are getting to where hopefully it gets to be a bit exciting. I don't know about you, but it seems like we're having more content to talk about with the Reds than we did maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, and I guess this would be a good time to bring up that, we have a sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
We are partnering with the All Gloves Off Media Network, Battle Bites Jerky. Fuel your battle. That's premium brisket beef jerky engineered for gamers and athletes who refuse to compromise on performance or taste. If you go to Battle Bites or fuelyourbattle.com and use the code AllGlovesOff10, you get 10% off your order. And we'll have all the links and stuff in the description. And they got some pretty good flavor. They just launched, I believe, on the 14th. And they've got the original recipe. They've got Korean barbecue. They've got spicy sweet, cracked pepper, teriyaki, Reaper. So they got some pretty interesting flavors, and I can't wait to dig into it. I don't know, but what do you think, Roger? What flavor are you looking forward to?
Any of them. I'm not terribly a big jerky guy, but the one thing that really draws me to this company as well is that 10% of their proceeds go to the Wounded Warrior Project, which is a great cause to help veterans that are wounded in battle and may need some help that maybe the VA can't help out with and whatnot. So it's a great cause just to support your troops, support your veterans as well. So that's really what gets me. So I'll eat any kind of jerky for those guys.
Yeah, and as a son of a Marine, I second that 100%.
So yeah, go out there, 10% off coupon, All Gloves Off 10, just to drive that home. Really appreciative of them partnering with us. The shout out to Mike for getting that sponsorship, that deal for us as well for All Gloves Off. So we'll hopefully be able to support them and they support us, and we'll ride that into the sky kind of thing. But back to the Red Legs, Rick. It has been revelatory. I guess that's what happens, right? You have basically an off season where the stories start to come out, or at least maybe more of the details of things that happened during the season start to leak out, start to come out full bore. So much so that we're getting information about the Hunter Green situation, I guess, to put it nicely. I don't know exactly what to call it. We've been talking about Hunter Green being traded, I feel like every single show, at least a little bit every single time. But now we're starting to see the background of why it's been a conversation, and an ongoing conversation at that. And I totally forgot about this. It was, I think, Gingersaurus Rex on X out there. He brought up an article that Mark Sheldon wrote back in June when I think Hunter Green skipped a rehab start because he didn't feel good enough to make it. And it was basically on him that made that call. It wasn't anything that the trainers or the pitching staff, coaching staff, whatever made. So, like, that also spurred some comments in that article that Sheldon reported on about how Hunter Green needs to show some leadership. Hunter Green needs to show, like, I want to get back there on the field as opposed to skipping that rehab start. It sounds like he's got sources inside, the organization. I don't know how high it goes up. I don't know exactly who his sources are. Obviously, he's not going to reveal his sources because he doesn't want to burn bridges, the whole journalism thing, right?
Good journalism.
But at the same time, it's starting to, all come together in terms of like why this has been a thing. I guess I'm just starting to realize that Mark Sheldon isn't the one that's, he's not the one that's keeping this rumor alive. He's being told that these things are happening behind the scenes. What has been your takeaway from that? It was, and this happened on AMA. This wasn't even like an article or anything.
On Reddit.
Reddit AMA is revelatory information on why Mark Sheldon wrote about Hunter Green and is kind of continued to write about Hunter Green possibly being dealt.
Yeah, it makes you kind of, I don't know, question some things. There has been the, I guess, level of discomfort around some of the fan base, some of the media with his availability every season. And it kind of feels like my takeaway is maybe the front office and the organization's kind of like, all right, he had a very low level groin injury and he skipped a rehab assignment, and maybe you would kind of hope that he would have tried, and then you go out there and then you just, say, I couldn't make it, I gave it an effort and I couldn't make it. But I honestly, I kind of like what Sheldon said because, people were questioning him being, paid for by the Reds, being a Reds writer. And, he basically did good journalism. He took information, he took, not really rumors, but some hearsay around the organization. And I don't know, it worked. But I still don't want to trade Hunter Green. I mean, Hunter Green on this team, if he is healthy, is a top 3 or 4 pitcher in the National League. And I don't know. I don't like that. And I don't know. What do you think? Because I stand by my take about, it'll take a lot for me to give up Hunter Green. We saw the Grayson Rodriguez trade. They got Taylor Ward. And there was a stat that I saw where I think there's 4 pitchers under the age of 25 that had I think an ERA under 4, I believe, or under 3. It's like 3 something. Yeah. But it was Paul Skeens twice, Hunter Green, and Grayson Rodriguez. So and I understand the injury history with Grayson Rodriguez too. He missed an entire season, but Hunter Green's health isn't too far off of that with the amount of time spread out. But still, I mean, when Hunter Green's out there, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, my read on it is that I think the organization is not as high on Hunter Green as maybe you and I are. That was my take, because Sheldon reported we were public, and like I said, the report back in June when the rehab start was skipped, and he was kind of like grade 1 strain of the groin was the reported injury, and everyone was kind of like, okay, yeah, well, Hunter knows his body, not necessarily trying to question that. It's basically a situation of like, do you trust Hunter Green? Which I don't understand why. I guess the Reds organization wouldn't trust Hunter Green to go out there to do his best. I don't think there's been another incident like this where he couldn't go and he could possibly have gone, but he just stopped himself, like, or he didn't feel like he could. He had some sort of, I've had this. I've broken my ankle, and sometimes when you get in certain situations, your instinct is sometimes to protect yourself, so you don't necessarily put yourself out there because you don't want to further damage your injury or your past injury. So I can see the psychology of Hunter Green being conservative, being that it's June. It wasn't like the rehab start was happening in August and they were trying to get him back for the September run to get in the playoffs. If that's maybe a conversation, I suppose, in terms of like, okay, if you really hustle back to get back to the Reds mid-June, beginning of July, like, and then he gets injured again, then he's done for the year potentially. Now that's like, it insults injury, and it makes it even worse situation where the Reds don't have him at all, as opposed to he played it safe. And I guess I'm saying I'm falling on the side of Hunter Green. Sheldon's comments don't bother me as much now anymore, because now I see where it's coming from. Before, we were kind of like, when the season was about to end, or it ended, and there was another article about Hunter Green being traded. We're like, where is this coming from? Well, now we know. We know where it's coming from. It's coming from inside the house. It's coming from inside the Reds organization, and that kind of troubles me a bit, because we were talking about, and everyone that we know, Greg, Kirby, everyone we know is like, don't trade Hunter Green. What are you talking about? This is ridiculous. You got him on such a great deal. You'd be insane to give up that value. And Clay Stone says he's the best value ace in the game. Why would you do that? But now we know why. It's because for some reason they have some sort of friction. Hopefully that's going to go away. Hunter Green will be the starter March 26, 2026. And we'll all go back to, all pulling for Hunter Green to get his first Cy Young.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Gordon Whitmire was the originator of this whole
They're in the coal mine
debacle.
Oh, maybe it's his fault. Let's blame him.
Cubs fan from
all
Mason.
I got. Gosh, I don't know. Any more thoughts on that? I don't know if you want to expound too much, because I feel like this hopefully could be the end of this conversation, not this conversation keeps going on because they are unhappy with what happened. Hopefully that's all water under the bridge in June when the rehab got skipped. All under the bridge. We're going to move on. We're on to Cincinnati, as a famous coach said. We're going to be basically just focused on 2026. We're not going to worry about questioning Hunter's integrity toward the game of baseball. We're just going to say, go get him, Hunter. Go get all those Red Sox on March 26th of next year.
Yeah, I guess my final thoughts are, you don't trade Hunter Green unless the deal's absolutely right. But then also, like, that's, you just don't make the mistake of, like, one, the player of who Hunter Green is, and then two, the person that he is with the area and all the other stuff that he does outside of baseball with any kind of disasters and stuff like that. He's just an overall grade A human, and you don't move on from that, especially with the contract that he has.
Well, that's kind of the most infuriating part, is that if they're having a problem with Hunter Green being the character, the man that he is, like, what, like, if someone has even like less of a, I don't know, I was like, he's like the ultimate captain type figure for this club. So if you're having a problem with his, personality, his knowing his own body, then there's going to be lots of problems with a lot of other different players that are going to have less, that may have, less of a rope than Hunter Green, because I feel like he's earned a little bit of understanding, you know what I mean? Or a little bit of grace at the very least.
Yeah. And, we got our guest here. So, let's get Mike's opinion on this. Just to add to it a little bit. Mike, how are you doing, first of all? And long time no see. And can we put an end to these Hunter Green rumors?
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Yeah, it's great to be on. Talk to you again, Ricky. Yeah, I hope so. I've been listening to you guys, and I think I agree. I think the way that we can square all of the different reporting that we've had is, yes, there was friction, and yes, they were interested potentially in trading him, but the way that Charlie Goldsmith can say pretty definitively that he doesn't think he's going to be traded is because that asking price is probably through the roof, which it should be. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It should be through the roof. He makes pennies compared to other pitchers of his caliber. He's controllable for the next 3 years, 2-3 years. Like, you're going to have to give up a haul, and people aren't willing to do that, potentially because of the injury history, but I think that that's probably where it lands. People like getting angry at that type of stuff, and that's why, we've gotten 3 weeks of play about Hunter Green. But I fully expect him to be the starter, barring any potential, no crazy setbacks. But I fully expect him being the guy delivering first pitch next year.
Do you have just spitballing here, but do you have any like dream trade package that you would you would take for him? Because I've always said like I've said it a couple times, like Julio Rodriguez, like you got to give
Sure.
me someone of like that caliber. Like I want
Yeah.
multiple years of control, all star. Like that's the kind of player that I'm not taking prospects.
Right. I mean, I've heard, there was the Diamondbacks talk, right? So Ketel Marte, but to me, Ketel Marte by himself isn't it. You
Yeah.
need more. It's
What is he,
Ketel Marte,
32?
Ketel Marte plus, basically, major league arm, somebody like a Brandon Font or something like that they have. So, that's what I think it would take, and that's why I don't think that it's going to happen. There clearly there's I think there's smoke because there was definitely some interest, and then there's the Red Sox or whoever sniffed around and were like, I don't want to give up Jarren Duran and 3 prospects for Hunter Green. So it's like, all right, then we'll keep him.
Yeah, for sure. Jarren Duran was probably the one I was thinking, left-handed bat outfielder that we could use, because I feel like that was the reason why this discussion also is still kind of ongoing, is because the organization's like, the only way we can get an outfield bat is if we trade the literal best value for money at the starting pitching position. And it's not necessarily a guarantee to get a haul back, but it's our best bargaining chip. That was like my least cynical view on it. It's like, okay, the Reds org is trying to get in the game. They're going to try to get somebody, but if we're going to deal our best player basically for the value of the money that he's on, it seems like you have to get something significant in return, like you said.
Yep.
I like this comment in the chat. It says some people complaining about Hunter not pitching are the same people mad at Ellie for playing injured. Yeah, I mean
that was the other,
basically.
Yeah, that was the other news of the day. I came down the pike from Nick Kroll at the Hot Stove meeting with 700 WLW. I think just before we went on, he started talking about different things with the Reds organization. But the biggest news is that, by the way, Ellie played with a torn quad for about 2 or 3 months. Great. Like, I guess this is the type of year where we start to hear these type of things. The really what happened. Like, it's kind of weird that we didn't hear about Spencer Steer's injury until March or right before spring training with his shoulder. You think that would have leaked at this point last year. But anyway, neither here nor there. The point being is that Ellie was playing 75%, 70%. I don't even know what to put on there. But, like, what do you think, Mike? Like, what does that tell you for at least all the haters out there that want to say that Ellie is just not doing what he's supposed to be doing, yet he's putting his body on the line for the city of Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things here, right? You can in one mind, you can be thankful that you have a star at your team that wants to win so badly and wants to help this team so badly that he's willing to go put himself out there for 162. I think it's very admirable to want to play every single game of the year. That is a rare thing, especially nowadays in baseball. It just doesn't happen very often. I think maybe 5 people did it. And Ellie wouldn't have done it if we hadn't gotten the crazy rainstorm that allowed for the suspended game and him to pinch hit in that game. But anyway, I'm actually a hot take is if that hadn't happened, he would have ended up they would have benched him for a little bit more to recover from this, and he might have actually performed a little bit better in the second half. But because he still had the 162 streak and he wanted to do that, that's why he continued to play through it. That's we'll never know if that's true or not, but that's a thought that I've had about it. And that being said, yes, that's admirable, but I think definitely Tito, we've heard Tito's comments, and the Reds, and I would imagine Ellie too can realize that was a detriment to him this year. So I would imagine that while it is admirable that he did it, he's shown that he can be that. He's not this guy that's going to be injured. He's a guy who wants to play every day. There are going to be opportunities for him to take a step back, maybe get a day off, maybe just be the DH, or maybe get a full actual day off. And he can realize that maybe taking a a 10-day IL stint to get that quad a little bit better before coming back is actually beneficial to the team. Yes, they're going to we would miss Ellie De La Cruz and all of the amazing things that he brings to this team. But I think I'd rather not have him for 2 weeks and then have him come back and play almost at the all-star level that he was tracking for like a 7-win season, basically before this injury happened, right? In which we saw a pretty clear correlation to him going into the tank. So I think we got to remember this guy is young. He's still trying to establish himself as a superstar in this league and definitely a leader in this clubhouse. So I understand why he did it, but I also think that after this year, wiser heads may prevail, and that if something like this happens again, he may take the stint off. And I think that Reds fans should feel completely justified with him doing that. I don't know. It's always really tough for me. My automatic assumption with all of these major league or just professional athletes in general is that they want to play no matter what, right? Unless proven otherwise by something they say, an article or a story about something, I take at face value that those guys want to play. They want to be out there. You don't become a professional athlete without being ridiculously competitive, wanting to play all the time. So I didn't have a problem with Hunter Green. Another thing that I think people don't talk about is, remember when he came back, he wasn't very sharp. Like, he came back and maybe he was healthy enough to pitch, but he wasn't pitching very well. So I think there's that aspect of it too. It's just like, yeah, Hunter Green, healthy on his game, best pitcher that we have. No question, really. But if 75% of Hunter Green is going out there and giving you 5 innings of 3 to 4 runs with, 4 walks, and then you have to go and hope the bullpen is able to survive the rest of that, is that worth it? I mean, maybe that's better than Chase Petty going for you, but is it better than, who you might have now as your 5th starter, whether it's Burns or Louder or something like that, or what, when we got Martinez and then Littell, kind of what was moving in there. I think that there's a good argument to be made. It's just like, hey, we got so we want you firing at all cylinders. We want you pitching at the best of your ability, which we saw him be able to do when he hit the Cubs in a playoff hunt, right? So it's like, I'm much more interested in having healthy Hunter Green. And we're not in the clubhouse. We don't know how all that went with, some of those conversations, but I'm with you. I'm not questioning his leadership. I'm not questioning his want or desire to win, because he wanted to make sure that he was fully ready to go so he could contribute the best he could to the team.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up Ellie's stats pre and post All-Star break. Pre All-Star break, 284, 359, 495, 25 stolen bases. And what do you have? 18 home runs, I believe.
Yeah,
and then post All-Star break, 236, 303, 363. His strikeouts skyrocketed, and then he only had 12 stolen bases, and a lot of those came towards the last few weeks of the season where he was kind of feeling better. But yeah,
famously had 2 months where he didn't hit a home run. It was like, it was very clear this was not the Ellie that we had come and expected to see in a Reds uniform.
Yeah, and hopefully next year's different, because we saw the batting average. I'd always say, like, his minor league career, he's always hit 300, close to 300, over 300, and then he gets here. Obviously, he chases. His average is going to go down, but we saw the discipline improve, and we saw the batting average climb. And I'm setting an expectation for 280 next year, if not even higher than that, if he can be healthy.
Yeah, he had an incredible year in 2024, and it looked like at the beginning of 2025 he was getting better. Like, he was cutting down on his strikeout rate, and he was, an all-star, and nobody really even batted an eye. Everyone's like, "Yep, that guy deserves to be an all-star." And then this injury happens. Like, I'm convinced if that doesn't happen, he has an even better season than next year. And people are talking to him about him like, Bobby Wood Jr. or Fernando Tatis Jr. Like we're talking about this very, very differently. So, this is your chance. Buy low on Ellie, because I don't know how much low, I think if this is your dip where you still lead the Reds offense in WAR and you had a terrible 2 months where you played with a torn quad, like that's great. That buy now, because I think Ellie is Ellie's going to have a crazy season next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the betting lines are for future Ellie MVP, but I might take it.
Yeah, can't always give it to Ohtani. And also never forget that Ellie flew commercial back from the Dominican instead of like getting a private jet from some rich owner that he might know that might own the team. I don't know if they have a private jet. Maybe they'll know of someone else in the owner's suite that has a private jet or whatever. But just never forget, you can't question his loyalty to this club either. Same thing I feel like with Hunter Green. You can't do that. I don't understand why anybody in the Reds organization would do that. But if there's any doubt, just remember that fact. Any other thoughts about Ellie? Did they say that he's going to have surgery or anything? Like a partially torn quad? Is he just going to heal himself like Wolverine or something?
I think the Krawls comments, he said he was in Cincinnati rehabbing.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too, right? Cincinnati is not where his home is, right? He's not in the Dominican. He's staying in Cincinnati, rehabbing this thing to get better. So to me, that's somebody who is very, very concerned about making sure that he's good to go for next year, that's everything that you want from the young leader of your team.
Windhorse fingers here with, I'm pretty sure at the All-Star break when they had the red carpet, they announced, I don't know, they came out on the red carpet and they said that he might have a girlfriend that's from this area. Southwest Ohio is what they said. So there may be that going on as well, where, the rehab is, anyway, some other, anyway, I don't want to get into
maybe
that.
he became a Bengals fan. Who knows?
Oh, God.
Poor Ellie.
Please don't. He might not come back to Cincinnati. Then
Big Flacco guy.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about Ellie. Also, some other news happened this week. The Reds had to protect some guys because the Rule 5 drafts come up in December. We got the guys that I think that everyone in kind of like consensus thought was the most, the top of the Rule 5 eligible guys that were basically most valued prospects, and a lot of people nailed it. Greg Kuffner nailed it. Our poll, we put the three guys that end up getting protected, and I was like, I guess I could have put a fourth option and said all the above, because that probably was most likely to be the most correct answer. But we got what was it? Edwin Arroyo, Leo Balcazar, and Hector Rodriguez all added to the 40-man. What are your guys' thoughts? Or I'll go to you, Mike. What are your thoughts about those three guys getting added to the 40-man roster?
I think I'm always very interested in this, because I really only think that the person that was in real danger of getting picked in this Rule 5 draft was Hector Rodriguez. I think what people forget about the Rule 5 draft is not only are they picking, they're not just looking at your team and being like who they want. They're picking from all the other teams. So it's like the pool is huge of people that they're going. Plus, when they do that, they then have to take that player and put him on your major league roster for the entire season, And so, I don't know, how old is Edwin Arroyo? 23, 22?
Mm-hmm.
I think Edwin Arroyo is on this 40-man roster because I think there's a legitimate shot that we could see him more contribute with the Reds and less of a protection from a Rule 5 pick, because, taking a 22-year-old who was in Double-A all of last year and stashing him on your major league roster, that is just a really hard thing to do. We've seen it with the Reds, and even with some of these bad teams, putting him on your 26-man roster gets tough. And it's just like, this guy has 0 at-bats above Double-A, and you would have to then, expect him to be able to contribute at the major league level. I get that he has prospect pedigree and people may want him in the system and things like that, but it just, to me, felt like a stretch to get him on a major league roster. Maybe like next year, if he were to go and play a decent amount in AAA and play pretty well, especially with how good his glove is. But that's kind of my thought on it. I wasn't surprised. I would have thought maybe that there would be a pitcher that they put on, just because in my mind, pitchers are easier to hide on major league rosters, right? Say you throw 100 and you can't really, or you throw very fast, maybe not 100, and you can't control it. The A's can stash you on the back of their roster. And I also don't know the rules specifically about this, but like, pitchers also much more likely to have season-ending injuries, in which you then can be, I think, still stashed on the IL. So I don't know if there are rules in there about if they get hurt, like, and you put them on the IL for the rest of the year, do you have to send them back? Like, I don't know the minutia of all that type of stuff, but I would imagine, say you bring somebody on, he pitches, and they decide, yep, he's making our team out of camp, hurts his elbow in April, goes on the IL for the rest of his year. Do you got to send him back? Does he stay with you? Like, what? How does that work? I don't know.
I think of the IL situation, because we got Brandon Williamson, combined them. Brandon Williamson and Julian Aguiar were both on the 60-day because they had UCL surgery, season-ending surgery. Tommy John, I can't remember exactly, but I think they count toward the 40-man. I think they activated them, honestly, right before the deadline, and they get added to the roster. So if you do value like a Brandon Williamson who was out all year, he would have to be on the 40-man, even though he was on the IL literally all season.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he Rule 5 eligible, even with
I want to say
because he has some major league experience? I don't remember the specifics of it. Either way,
might have been.
Okay, I gotcha. Either way, I was surprised. To me, it's easy. Like, obviously, I'm not a GM, but to me, it's easier to hide a reliever in your bullpen, and than it is to hide somebody like Edwin Arroyo, or even Hector Rodriguez. I think is the most major league ready of all of our prospects that we haven't seen yet, and so that makes sense that they would protect him. But Balcazar and Arroyo probably wouldn't get picked, but are good enough pieces that they obviously don't want to risk it, because they see that there's a potential for, use with the Reds, either in the big leagues or as a trade chip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they technically did add a pitcher. They added them a couple weeks ago. It was Jose Franco.
Oh, Franco.
He began the season in Double-A and then got promoted to Triple-A, I think around August. He has a electric fastball. Like, he throws 98, 99. He had Tommy John 2 years ago, so he recovered. Last year was his first season back, and he was really good this year. 10-4, 3.11 ERA, 1.26 WHIP, and he does struggle with walks. I think he had a 4.3 walks per 9 this year, but his strikeouts were like 10 point. I have it pulled up here. 12.1 strikeouts per 9 with a 4.9 walk per 9. So he's got the stuff. He's just got to worry about command. And
to me, that's the guy that can get hidden on a bullpen.
Yeah.
The A's or the White Sox or somebody says, you throw 98 and have electric stuff and have trouble walking, see if you can figure it out in the big leagues.
Yeah,
we stink anyway, so just see if you can figure it out. So that makes a lot of sense that that's the type of guy that they would put on the roster.
Yeah, and he's still relatively young. I think he's 24, so he's got the stuff. And he got signed out of the Dominican Republic in 2019, missed 2020 due to COVID, and I think the way the leagues realigned, he missed a little bit of 2021. He struggled with Daytona. Another thing I wanted to point out too is last year our Rule 5 guys that we protected were Callahan, Luis May, and Zach Maxwell, I believe, right? Or no, was Maxwell just?
I don't think Maxwell made it because they had to make it. They had to shuffle. That was why May made his debut before Maxwell, because they had to shuffle somebody on the 40-man in order to get Maxwell up here.
I know there was 3. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was Callahan, May, and
Hmm.
Dang it! It's not gonna give it to me. It's giving me all the recent ones. But anyway, I guess my point is we saw the guys that got added to the 40-man roster make their debut this season. So, and with Crawl's comments about payroll and not wanting to spend a whole lot of money and whatever, which we're used to that, but there's a good chance we see at least two of those guys this season. And if everything goes right for Balcazar, he could come up towards the end. He could be a September call up, but Arroyo, had he not had the shoulder injury and the surgery in last season in 24, he's probably in AAA this year and would be knocking on the door of the majors at some point this past season. So his glove is really good. His bat is getting better. He was down on the power this year. That could be attributed to the shoulder injury and recovering from that. But Hector Rodriguez to me is my favorite of the three. Just we need the left-handed hitting outfielder, and he's really improved his chase rate and his approach. He still swings at everything, but he makes contact with everything. And if he can get the discipline down with the way that he makes contact, he can be in a really good hitter. Think of like TJ Friedel, but like better. And he's 22, 21. So he could be, we're looking at Friedel being 29, 30, 31 years old, and we can upgrade to a Hector Rodriguez who's going to be 22 this season. And that to me would be just a good outlook in the future, just because we've had a really bad track record of drafting outfielders and them developing. I mean, I love Austin Hendrick, but he's probably not sniffing the major leagues anytime soon. But I mean, we got lucky with Hector. We traded Tyler Naquin for him and Jose Acuna, and I think if everything works out, we fleeced the Mets on that one.
Yeah, for sure. The surprising thing for me, and this kind of will somewhat answer this question by Carrick, is I can't believe that they DFA'd Carson Spires, and they have 4 catchers on the roster, technically, with Banfield, the guy they added, Rortvedt,
or whatever. Yeah.
Trevino and Stevenson. And Ricky's hot take is that we're possibly dealing Stevenson this offseason to get rid of his potential. I mean, he's at one more year control, and then he's a free agent. So it doesn't look like he's getting extended from what we've kind of talked about and what we kind of see in the tea leaves, so to speak. But like, I can't believe that they didn't, I think Rortveldt's out of options, so he would have been DFA'd, but I think Banfield's got options, so I can't believe they didn't remove him and outright him to Louisville, where he had been all year, except for they have like one game last year, the Banfield game, I feel, where he got like that emergency call up. So like that was the kind of the biggest surprise to me, is that they got this 40-man roster, but the guy they ended up putting, on waivers is, and not a guy that had a great season, but you can't have enough pitching. Not that Carson Spires lit the world on fire when he was the 5th man, when opening day started last year. But, I mean, injuries happen. Guys go away for a long time. Guys reinvent themselves, like Ashcraft did this year. You kind of need him. Hopefully he clears waivers and they can re-sign him to a minor league deal or what have you. But that was kind of the biggest surprise that I took away from the 40-man roster Rule 5 deadline.
Yeah, I would imagine that Banfield is the first one on the chopping block if we wanted to claim anyone off of the recent DFAs, because that's the guy that, to be honest, he's gonna make it through waivers, right? And I've heard that they might just DFA Rortvedt as well. It's just like, and hope that he makes it through waivers as well. Obviously, he didn't make it through waivers because the Reds claimed him, but at least, maybe they can sneak him through while other people are at a roster crunch and things like that. But when it comes to Carson Spires, I completely agree. He's a great guy to have on your team, guy who can come out of the bullpen as your long man, guy who can make a spot start, who's looked pretty good. He's not been great, but this is an undrafted free agent that we got and have developed. And I think what it says more than anything is that we're probably not seeing him this year. They probably are like, he's whatever he's doing, it's going to take the majority of the year to rehab. People aren't going to want to look at Frankie Montas, right? Frankie Montas just got DFA'd because he's not going to pitch this year because he's having Tommy John, I think, or he's having some sort of um, elbow issue. So people just don't want to carry somebody like that, especially at a time like this where you have to start protecting people for Rule 5 and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. I agree. I would love to see him in here. I think he can be a good contributor. He's a good depth piece that you can, you could really see maybe even being an opener for a game, or, he's got a lot of, I see a lot of Nick Martinez light there, right? Somebody who can switch back and forth from being a starter. I don't think he's as good as Nick Martinez, but somebody who's younger and has that flexibility, I think is definitely helpful.
Yeah, his numbers pre-All-Star break in 2024, he was 3-2 with a 3.83 ERA. He actually looked really good, to where I think a lot of us thought he could be a really serviceable fifth starter. And then he just fell off a cliff in, post All-Star break 2024, 2-5, 7.21 ERA. So, yeah, I mean, he could be, and like you said, a really good like Martinez option. I think Jose Franco could kind of fill that role too this year. I really hope that Louder can stay healthy, and then we can get something long term out of Burns. And you have, hopefully, Lodolo doesn't have the blister issues, and we have a rotation of Green, Abbott, Lodolo, Louder, and Burns, and we feel pretty confident about that.
Don't forget about Brady Singer. We still have Brady Singer there too.
But yeah, and he could be, maybe you go with a 6-man rotation and you kind of give Burns that extra day. You treat the rotation as a 5-man, you just give Burns an extra day every other week or whatever. I don't know how you make that work, but yeah. And I guess my take on Stevenson is like, I don't want to see him traded. I'm just concerned about why they're not making any effort. He was your top catching prospect. He's the only catcher you really feel confident about in the system other than Duno. And we're not going to see Duno for at least 2 years, maybe even 3. So I guess I'm worried about, I understand like the whole CBA in 2026, and you're not going to want to go long-term now because of what the outlook might look past if there's any kind of changes. But it's weird to me that a guy like Stevenson, who's 28, he's still young, and when he's healthy, he's really good, and he's just not getting extended. I don't know who his agent is. Like, it's just weird to me.
There's also the aspect too that I would say his blocking actually got a lot better this year, and his biggest detriment is framing, right? And that's going to become even more and more obsolete with the introduction of ABS. So there's lots of things to think about with Stevenson. And to be honest, I think the biggest downside that the Reds or whoever are seeing of him is health, right? The guy has, by nature of where the position that he plays, he's just struggled with injury. I think that if we could pencil him in as, QB or QB1 or catcher 1 for, 110 games or whatever, I think that we would probably be able to expect a lot of really good offensive production there, and basically have Trevino as his backup to keep the legs fresh. But it's pretty hard to feel confident that you're going to get that out of Stevenson based on what you've seen so far. So I would love to be wrong. I'd love for him to go and have a great season. I'd love all these young guys to go and have these great seasons to, get the Reds back to the playoffs. But it's there's only so much that you can expect. Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of hope, trading Singer, and I don't know who you would get in return for a fifth starter, but like I expect that they would get something better than what we gave up to get him, just based off of what he did this year. You're probably getting a solid reliever or a decent bench bat if you were to trade Singer, but you're also going to save $4 or $5 million too.
Yeah, I don't know. What Singer offers, I think, is not sexy to fans, but is sexy to front offices,
Yeah.
right? This dude that's going to have an under 4 ERA or a pretty good ERA, and then pitch every single start every year. Like I mean, I don't think he didn't miss a start this past year. Like that is huge, especially for front offices that are dealing with pitch. Like look at some of the rotations for some of these teams at the end of the year. They're just decimated. Like the Reds experienced it in some way with Green and Lodolo and stuff like that, but overall, pretty much held together health wise. The Cubs or the Mets and some of these teams were just like calling up rookies and being like, I hope you can help us get here because like you're just like out of arms. And so I think Singer actually would command more than we would like. I would imagine that if they do, I don't think they're going to trade Singer because I think Krall is like, we can never have enough pitching. He lived through 2023. He lived through 2020. What was it? 2021, where just like everyone got hurt. And, Chase Petty was starting games for us. And we were just like, having to really pull the bottom of the barrel there. I think he doesn't want to have to live through that again. I think he's like, we want to have pitching depth because inevitably there's going to be the 15-day IL for Nick Lodolo. There's going to be the 15-day IL for Hunter Green, which we've already established early in the season. We'd be all right with, as long as that means that they are healthy for us for the stretch run. But it's like, I would imagine Singer could command something and he would be a pretty good trade chip, but I also think Nick Krall is going to hold on to him. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I was I was going back to get a thumbnail for the video today, and I went back to our debut pregame show for Chatterbox Reds, and you asked me about Singer, and I said if you could get, I think it was 10 wins and an ERA under 4.5, you have a successful fifth starter.
Yeah,
and he goes 14-12 with a 4.05 ERA. So
there
I'll take it. Let's go.
Yeah, and like you were saying, Mike, he's provided a stability that we don't usually see. I think they said he was the first Reds pitcher to pitch 30 starts or 35 starts since 2021, since Luis Castillo was on this team and Tyler Mahle both did it, I think, in 2021. So, like, that's something that you don't see in the Reds organization very often. As much as we love Hunter, he doesn't have the longevity, and he gets himself into little nagging injuries that keep him out. That he hasn't. I don't think he's ever done 30 starts, as far as I know. So that's like, or even getting close. I think maybe he got 25 one season. But anyway, point being is that he does have value that isn't obviously fantasy numbers worthy, right? But we'll take that because if he's out there every 5 days, that's something you can depend on. Might not be always the sparkling A stuff, but we'll take it. We'll take it here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, he gave us 10 games with 7 strikeouts or more this year. So,
right.
I mean, like that's good pitching. And not only did he do that, he led the team in innings pitched. So, I mean, that's a really good pitcher. And like you said, it's not sexy, but it works.
Yeah. Also a great dude. That's another underrated thing. Great dude. You ever listen to an interview of him? It's always like, Stevenson called an incredible game. My guys were great behind me. It's just like, that's the type of guy that you love having in your clubhouse.
For sure. Wasn't it revealed that the Speedway game that his dad was like a NASCAR driver, or was he like in the under circuit or something like that? Because like I think he grew up driving as a kid in Florida. I believe he's from Florida, but I think his dad was like either like a minor league driver. I don't know if he made it to the big circuit in NASCAR, but they're big time drivers. They talked about that a lot, obviously with the 2 hours, 4 hour delay. They had a lot to talk about during that Speedway game.
Yeah.
If you can remember back to that. So
his dad is Brett Singer, was a professional road racer and raced street bikes around Daytona.
Street bikes, like motorcycles, huh? Man,
yeah.
That sounds more dangerous.
Yeah, and also shout out Brady for when he got that contract with Kansas City, and he paid off his parents' debt and everything. So, like you said, great dude.
For sure. And Dak, no, we're not going to trade him to Colorado, unless you give us what's that outfielder who's a Gold Glove?
Doyle.
Yeah, you can give us that. If we do that, I'll do that trade. That's about it. But anyway, moving on. I don't know if you guys saw this as well. Fangraphs, notorious projections website, very analytic based, and whatnot. Not necessarily the analytics is what it is. I don't know what your take is on it, Mike, but we're midway. We'll use it if it helps our cause in terms of getting in the right players in the right situations to be successful. But I don't think it should be the end all be all. My example is that I think Fangraphs predicted the Reds to win 77 games this year. So it's not always right, not always on the money. And to have projections, the 2026 Zips projections come out, it feels like super early. I don't know if they usually do it this early, but they had the Reds, the WAR numbers of the players that will probably play most of the season, and there were some notable ones. I think McLean had a pretty nice number at second base, but like some other guys like Marte out in the outfield, I think he was like a .1 WAR projection or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot to be said about this. Do you have any takeaways or anything from this, Mike?
Yeah, my initial takeaway is, man, they still really don't like Noel V. Marte. .1 WAR for him out there. Now, here's the thing: a lot of these projections, they vary in where they take their information from. But from what I remember, and I could be wrong here, but Zips, or the Fangraphs projection, is pretty heavily weighted on past performance, right? And so obviously we have the last 3 years, I think is kind of what they do, and then they try to project for it. So obviously we have last year where we saw Marte break out and be much better than we were expecting. But then we have the year before where he might have been the worst player on the Reds, and so there's trying to figure out, okay, well, is he 2024 Marte or is he 2025 Marte? So I think that is part of what's playing into that. You got to also remember that I think projections, just by nature, are kind of looking for the 50%, right? They're kind of falling in the middle. Like they'll do win totals and stuff like that for each team, and very often they don't even, very rarely do they even project somebody to win over 100 games. So obviously I don't think anyone won over 100 games this year, but we have seen in previous years many different teams win over 100 games, right? Because teams outperform what they have. Like what the Reds did is I think everyone can agree, overperformed what anyone really expected, and what 84 wins, right, or whatever. And getting to that was maybe a 75% outcome or something like that. So do I think their projection was low? Yes, obviously. We all have Reds colored glasses and think that our team is great, and all we need is another year to, go win the World Series. But I think there's a level of just like where everything kind of shifts towards the middle because it's a projection. So like you said, I take these, they're interesting things to take a look at, but I disagree with some of them.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the projections for next year now, and I'm looking at the batters' top near age offensive comps, and I don't really like what I'm seeing. They got Ellie compared to Yohan Moncada as a hitter. What's funny though is like some of the ones that I really kind of I recognize. They have Will Benson's comps to Mike Cameron and Kirk Gibson for just hitting profile, I guess.
Interesting. Where is this? This is on StatCast?
It's on Fangraphs. They tweeted it.
Okay.
And it goes to the website. They have all the projections. They have Sal Stewart as a 1.4, or no, they have the DH spot in general as a 1.4 WAR. I'm going to assume that Stewart probably has the highest of that WAR out of the four, with Stewart, Lux, Stevenson, and Encarnacion Strand, Steer. They have Steer as a 1.5 at first base for WAR.
Yeah, I'm looking at those hitter comps now. There's not a lot of names on here that I'm liking how we're comped to.
Yeah.
A lot of people I have not heard of. Here's one. Christian Encarnacion Strand was
Juan
Juan Francisco.
Francisco.
Remember that
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah,
Remember that guy?
I thought he was going to be the next big thing. Terrible.
That's interesting. I wonder how that happens. But anyway.
Matt McLean, Tony Piet, Yohan Moncada, and Antonio Perez. TJ Friedel, Al Spangler, Chris Prieto, and Johnny Damon. That's a good comp. I kind of see a little Johnny Damon and TJ Friedel.
Yeah. I guess all in all, I'm trying to say is like, is this something that, do you think that even like players look at and whatnot, is this something they even take into an account? I don't know. It seems so
I would assume
early.
not.
Yeah, it seems so early in the proceedings to have a projection of 2026 when there could be a free agent that gets added, or a pitcher gets traded. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I guess it's something to talk about in the in.
I'd imagine they could update it too. Like they have these calculations for everyone. So if we add a everyday left fielder, like I would imagine they could update what they think, or they add a reliever or something like that. Yeah, I think there's that aspect of it too. Once you kind of get the framework of it, you can kind of move the pieces around. Because really, what it is they have to go in and project every player in order to do that. So that I'm imagining that's probably what takes time. And then if they move around the board, then you can just plug and play.
Yeah, and this was an interesting thing here too. They see Sal Stewart is a decent role player who would be most valuable at third base.
Yeah,
and like Eric.
Yeah. That's what you get sometimes when you have people that are doing things like that don't follow a team fully. Yeah. I think he would be more valuable at third base than first base, just because we would say defensively he probably is stronger there. But it doesn't take into the fact that you have the best defensive third baseman in the game actually at third base. So there's pros and cons for all of that. And it's hard to project. Like maybe Sal Stewart is in the lab right now, scooping baseballs and getting good at playing first base. Maybe he's going to the Spencer Steer School of first base improvement so that he can be the starting first baseman next year. We don't know. We don't know how these young guys are able to improve over the offseason and stuff like that. So there's where this is an interesting snapshot, but I would highly doubt that it lands where it lands, where it's projected.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and they also have Stevenson. It says a ship appears to have sailed on Tyler Stevenson, joining the star tier of catchers. And Zips isn't very excited about Noel Marte in the outfield, given his erratic career. It's like it's been like 180 games. For his career.
He just eclipsed 162 about 2 weeks before the season ended. So
he was on track. He finished his first, quarter of a season or whatever, third of a season, fifth of a season on like an 18-game hitting streak. And then he goes into the Winter League, plays pretty well, gets hurt, and then obviously gets popped for steroids. And he probably just destroyed his mentality. It had to have. And then, obviously he stunk it up 2024. And then he goes into this year. Obviously, I think he got a case of the yips in the outfield, in the infield. But I think we saw like once he got moved to right field, like everything kind of just clicked for him, and he started hitting the ball. And obviously, he saved the season with that catch that they're going to have a bobblehead for on April 12th. Yeah,
I was in the building for that one. It was crazy.
Shout out to the guy that got out of his way. Because
that's right.
99 out of 100 fans are going for that baseball, and he's like, nope.
Yeah, that could have sunk the Red season right there if they got a little fan interference action going on. But I guess also the factor that Zips doesn't really, factor in at all is the Tito Francona factor, having that he's going to run save more than he's going to put guys in position to hit. So maybe that's why our offense looks so in. I haven't looked at the other teams, Zips projection, but it looks like the way they're projecting the Reds offense is to be a bit lacking, to say the least. But yeah, moving on. I guess you were talking about Mike possibly having guys added and then moving, the depth chart board around. What is realistic for the Reds to add this offseason? I know we got the Schwarber rumors, we got the Bellinger homer over there, and Ricky. So what is realistic for them to add?
Yeah, I'm with you that I guess my philosophy on free agents is you should either shop in complete bargain bin or shoot for the moon and do that, right? So we see so many of these. Hey, it was big for the Reds, but it didn't, and it wasn't big in the grand scheme of things. Like very often, it's Jeimer Candelario or Mike Moustakas, and less likely it is Nick Castellanos and what we were able to get with him. So I would be fine if the Reds take whatever meager budget they have and spend it basically all on a hitter. Go get Kyle Schwarber. I mean, his price tag is going to be more than what the Reds claim they have available. But I've been on the record talking about this as like, the Reds made an exception for a Cincinnati kid coming home to his hometown team to come and be a part of an exciting Reds team with Ken Griffey Jr. And they deferred a bunch of money. I don't think they've ever done it for anybody else. But they basically deferred a bunch of money to, I think they paid him all the way till 2024. Like that's how far down the road they deferred money to be able to bring this guy in and basically, be a spark to this team that, was moving into a new ballpark and all this kind of stuff. So, if it was anybody else, I'd be like, no, the Reds are out. Like, I don't think the Reds are in on Pete Alonso, right? And I hate to break it to you, they're probably not in on Cody Bellinger. But I think that because of the ties, and there's enough smoke, I can't tell if the smoke is just everyone just trying to manifest it. It was like, please, 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 please come back. Or if there's actual, sourcing behind, hey, let's try to get this one here. I think that if something were to happen, maybe you can defer some money. Maybe you can, make some sort of agreement where you're able to stretch how much you announced you have 15 to 20 million. You're like, you know what? But we'll spend 25. We'll find that. We'll shake the couch cushions and find the extra 5 million to be able to, make this happen. And I get that could basically mean you do no other big name. You basically just sign DFA people and, minor league deals. And I think I'm okay with that. You just add a huge bat into this lineup. You roll with your pitching development. Maybe you get a couple, minor leaguers like on a Scott Barlow type thing where you're able to bring them in and then they are able to join have a couple lottery tickets to see who you might be able to add to this bullpen who's going to need some replenishing. We're not going to want it just to be only some of these younger arms. So it's like, I know that that's not perfect, but I think I'd rather have that than we sign a couple $3 million relievers, a couple Austin Hayes types, and, pick up Colin Holderman off of waivers. And we're like, all right, let's go. Let's run this back. To me, that's I would much rather you try to do something, bring in Schwarber in.
Yeah, my fear with that is because we've seen the home run players just be complete failures the last two with Mike Moustakas and Jeimer Candelario. I don't really count Castellanos as a failure because he was an all-star in his second year, but you could.
I think that contract was great, especially because you opted out and got Sal Stewart for it. Like, that's exactly the type of thing that I think the Reds should do. Sign more Nick Castellanos and let him leave right at the peak of his power.
My fear is that they get gun shy and they say, yeah, well, we could probably pony up the 22, 25 million to get Schwarber, but they're going to go out and get a Rhys Hoskins and a Jesse Winker, bring him back, Alex Verdugo, Michael A. Taylor, like some of those, like probably cheaper players like a Lane Thomas kind of pickup, I wouldn't be too mad about because Lane Thomas has a lot of power. He just was had a down year last year. He could be that bounce back candidate that they like to go after. He could be the Austin Hayes of next year. The Cody Bellinger one for me is it's like I know it's not going to happen, but his numbers in Great American Ballpark are elite. I mean, he's a great hitter, but like his numbers, it's like 329, 9 homers, like 7 doubles in like 22 games. Like that's
Go look up Lane Thomas's numbers at Great American Ballpark, and you'll be like, sign this guy for $2 million tomorrow. Like,
so I'm cool with that. Like go get because he's only 30. So like go get Lane Thomas. Like he would be, if you're not going to re-sign Andujar, like Lane Thomas would be that guy that I would want to fill his shoes. But I would even be okay with bringing Andujar back if they can get him on a decent deal. But like I want Schwarber or I want Suarez. I want one of those two guys that can hit 40 home runs plus, drive in 100 plus, because we've seen how many times this year bases loaded, nobody out, nobody scores. And all it takes is one of those guys to have the right spot in the lineup fall and they drive that guy in. So that's my biggest issue. But I just fear that they get gun shy and they go for 3 or 4 of those guys that I mentioned and not Schwarber or Suarez and 1 or 2 guys.
Yeah. And that's why it's like the ceiling on those type of deals isn't very high, to be honest. Now, but I just like, to me, like you talk about some of those failed contracts, like Schwarber is so much different than that. Schwarber is on a different level. Schwarber got second in the MVP voting this past year. Like he's on a different level than a Candelario and a Moustakas, in my opinion. So yeah, I understand why the Reds might do it, but it feels like the circumstances could be just right for the Reds to do something that they very rarely ever do. It's like they make an exception for one of their own, right? They are willing to do something to win the headline, and I really hope that they do that.
We'll hope so.
Yeah, because like imagine Ellie has his bounce back year. Matt McLean is a league average hitter, and Spencer Steer doesn't have the start to the season that he had last year. And you have Schwarber batting possibly second, third in that lineup. Like, come on, he was batting leadoff for Philadelphia.
He does, because he gets on base a bunch because he walks a lot. So
yeah. So I mean, you put that guy in Cincinnati, he's probably putting one pretty close to the river.
Golly, I'm imagining like 8th inning against the Red Sox. He deposits one. Reds go up 4-2. And wins the game. Just like, I mean, dude would already be a legend. If he were to sign in Cincinnati, he would
build a statue.
Yeah, like, but it's just like that happens. It's like build a statue right now. This dude, give him whatever he wants because it's just like this is the hometown hero.
Does Ian Jabot get the save that day?
God, no, he's out. I was at that game too. I was at that game as well. I went to opening day last year, and everyone in the crowd was just like, what? Who?
Everyone on TV watching as well. Yeah, we were just like
why is he the one? What are we doing? Yeah, it was not great. And then it happened exactly how we expected.
Yeah, not the greatest opening day memory, but at least it didn't cost us a playoff spot because that could have been disastrous. Because that'd be, I guess,
would have been the one game.
Yeah,
the first thing you point at is that and getting swept by the Athletics. So. Yeah. Speaking of the other guys, though, that possibly could make their Reds debut, do you see any? I think you mentioned Hector earlier. That Hector could be a guy Hector Rodriguez could be a guy that makes his Reds debut in 2026. Are there any other guys you're looking at in the minors, or do you think that I don't know, Reese Hines should get more play, but he's already obviously been up and down. But any other minor leaguers that you're looking at to make their debut in 2026?
Yeah, I don't know about debut. I know that Blake Dunn ended the year playing very, very well. Now, I don't know. The appetite for Blake Dunn on this roster is not very high from fans, I would imagine, because of how poorly he's been. But, he's the kind of guy. Remember, he got hit in the head a couple times and, like, has dealt with different – he was kind of put in a tough situation when he did come up, which he was kind of the small side of a platoon. And that's always tough on somebody, right? To be honest, if he's going to get play in the lineup, he's going to have to get better at that, right? He's going to have to be like, you're going to play against lefties. You're coming off the bench to hit against lefties. You better do that. Do what Andujar did, right? It's like that's not the easiest thing to do. It's like knowing that you're going to play 2 times a week, and when you do, it's going to be very limited. So, I was very encouraged with what happened at the end of the year there. With him and he resigns, but we'll see how that ends up going with all that. I like what Sean says in there. Kunsel, obviously pitched very well this year. Got the loss in the championship game in the AFL. Unfortunately, gave up 5 runs to lose. Unfortunately, but like that's definitely an arm that I would imagine it's going to depend on what we get, who we end up signing for the bullpen, because there's going to be some holes to fill. Suter, Pagan, Mole. Well, I guess Mole hasn't officially been done, but I would imagine probably is gone. Jabot, people like that, Suter or Barlow as well. Like there's spots for people. So I would imagine if he continues to pitch the way that he has, we'll see him there, and that'll be cool to see. Didn't you guys interview Kunsel? Is that right?
Yeah, great dude, man. He's awesome.
Right. He grew up in Cincinnati. I think he originally was born in Philadelphia, but he went to St. X. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's I don't know what high school you went to, Mike, but that
I went to Lakota West.
Okay, so you're not like an elder guy or something where you have with St. X people. But yeah, he's a great guy. He definitely he's been great. I don't know, Ricky, do you think he really starts in AAA this year? I think he might be back at Chattanooga to start the year, unless he has a great spring training and they assign him to Louisville. AFL was a bit up and down.
I feel pretty confident that he'll start in AAA. He is going to be 27 next year. That kind of gives him a little bit of an advantage. He does have a really good fastball. He noted to hit 101, I think 102.
In the AFL, he hit, I think the highest is 98. But when he was pitching in the independent league, what is it, the Frontier League, he hit like 103.
Yeah. But it also wasn't a strike from him personally. He owned up to it. He didn't try to show it up. But he was a cool interview, man. It was just like his answers. We did like a rapid fire where it was like, ice cream truck shows up to your room right now. What do you pick? He's like Grater's black raspberry chocolate chip. I'm like, let's go.
That's my
Cincinnati guy.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, our take has been that instead of getting La Rosa's pizza after 11 strikeouts or whatever it is, that we should get free Grater's ice cream. I think we need to switch up the sponsorship there.
I like that.
But yeah, also Carrick was talking about Francisco Baez. That's been my guy I've been watching. He started really well in the Dominican Winter League, in mid-October, but he's been hurt for like 2 weeks and he hasn't played a game. I don't know what's going on with him. He's also up there in age, like 28. I think he's also Rule 5 eligible. I doubt he gets picked, being the age and the fact that he hasn't even made a major league debut yet. I don't know exactly what's going on with our Baez. He's kind of a mystery. He's been in Louisville, right? And he hit at Louisville like 314.
He's hit at every level.
He seems like the Chris Valika profile guy to get on base, swing, not necessarily hit home runs. I think he had 4 homers or something like that. So it's just kind of a question of like, is it because McLean's in his way? He's never going to get a chance, but there's got to be chances somewhere along the line. I don't know, but that's neither here nor there. It's just a guy that I've been trying to keep tabs on, and unfortunately, he's injured, probably at a bad time. Hopefully he'll bounce back and finish out the Winter Dominican League and be able to report to camp in February and be able to catch fire then as well.
Did he play short? Did he play short in AAA?
Second base.
Second base. Okay.
So yeah,
I was going to say if Arroyo gets assigned to, I would imagine my guess is Arroyo gets assigned to AAA and Balcazar gets assigned to AA so they can both play shortstop. That would be my guess. I obviously he's hit everywhere he goes. It's always nice to be able to have. But defensively, like if you're not going to come up and be a contributor like a Sal Stewart, with a plus bat,
Yeah.
you're going to need to find a spot to be. And if you're not good at defense, that's a hard place. Like I would, because if that's truly the case, I've not watched enough to be able to know that. But if it truly is the case, like I kind of almost expect to see Arroyo before I expect to see Urbaez, because that's just, better glove. He's on the roster. Urbaez isn't on the roster, right?
No.
Right.
Yeah. So you'd have to take somebody off to do that. So it's just like, I kind of expect we see Arroyo, but who knows? Injury wise, Levi Jordan played some time with the Reds, and you know what I'm saying. And you can get some of these guys up to some playing time if you have enough injuries to clear space on the roster. So maybe we see him. It's somebody that would love to take have a shot at least.
Yeah. Levi Jordan, jack of all trades, played all 9 positions his last game. Shout out to Levi Jordan.
Yeah, I think like the one guy that I want to see next year is Hector Rodriguez. I want to see him potentially take that left-handed platoon spot in left field. And I guess
it's tough because it's kind of like that's what Will Benson is, right?
Yeah.
It's just like it feels like he doesn't necessarily have a spot unless the Reds move on from Will Benson in some way, right?
Right. Yeah. Which I mean, we tend to think that just his relationship with Tito the writing's kind of on the wall in our view that he probably gets moved this offseason in some capacity. I don't know. It's weird to me that a guy can win Player of the Week and then not see the field for a month.
Yeah.
I remember it was
we had plenty to say about that, Ricky. I feel like during the season
he homered in back-to-back games a month apart.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate platoon. Not
But I guess if I'm not seeing Hector, I want to see what Jose Franco can do pitching, just because I know he does have an electric fastball. He's hit upwards of 99. I don't know if he's touched 100, but he's got a really good slider as his out pitch. But like I said, his command is spotty. And if he can get up, in spring training, work with Derek Johnson and, get around, major league caliber starters, and maybe he can figure it out, because we did see his numbers get better as he rose through the ranks of the minor leagues. So that's a guy that I want to see. And I do like what you said about Blake Dunn, because he ended the year on fire. He hit, I think, 356 over his last 2 months. Like he was on fire.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to see something like that. That profile often has a hard time getting the jump to the majors, right? Because you swing at everything and you can make a lot of contact in AAA, but then the jump to major league pitching is it's no joke, So
CES is a prime example of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, if he's able to do that and still make contact the way he makes contact, like that's great. I love to have somebody that is a part of that, has shown some power, but also, strikes out less. But, you never know when it comes to that type of thing where it's just like if you don't walk, you better not, when the competition gets very good, you're going to have to still keep making contact. And that's it remains to be seen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I guess more on prospects. I guess I put this, this in the rundown a little bit out of order, but Just Baseball had their top 100 prospect list. And also, I think TJ Nesco or whatever his name, Thomas, I forget his name, TJ Stats, I think he is on X, put out his top 100 prospects as well. And in that list, there was 3 Reds, I think, for the Just Baseball one and 2 for the TJ Stats one. And I'm kind of thinking, like, I feel like just a couple months ago, we had like 4 or 5 guys. I know Burns, I guess, doesn't technically qualify anymore as a prospect, even though that I think Trey Savage was on the Just Baseball one. So I don't know exactly the rules or what qualifies you as prospect or not anymore. But the point being is that is the Reds organization not as strong in the minors as we think, because they don't have – they got Duneau, and he's going to be high A, Dayton probably. And then they got, I think, the other one for –
Collier. Was it Collier?
Not Collier. It was oh shoot, I'm gonna forget. Sal Stu. Sal Stu was on the list, which is I'm like Sal Stu played more baseball than Trey. I don't know. I guess maybe they played too much baseball or at the playoff. I don't know how it works in terms of what qualifies, because like Sal Stewart was on both lists and he's played a bunch of games, a whole month of baseball basically. But anyway, the point being is, are we being disrespected a bit with these lists, or is it just a matter of list and we can just say it's November 2025?
I think ranking prospects is it's really hard. I think it's part of it too. So, you think about people like there's former or Reds that have formerly been on there, your Chase Petties, your Cam Collier, people like that have had the pedigree that I don't think in any way we have given up on. There's definitely the pedigree to be able to bring people up, but you got to remember, Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, even, some of the other people that have been come up. Those are really good players that are graduating off your list. So, your first round draft pick the last year came up, became the number 2 prospect, and then like contributed for half of a season with the Reds. Like that's, to me, it's like I will give up prospect depth to have somebody that's able to come in and meaningfully contribute to the major league program right now. Right. That's why Steele Hall, that's, maybe he's good, but is that dude ever going to even play with Ellie De La Cruz? Like, probably not. Dude's 18, 18. And yeah. And they're like, he could grow into his power, could become Trey Turner. It's like, great. But like in 5 years, so there's I don't know. There's a trade-off in my opinion. And then you look at some of these other teams, part of why you have so much quote unquote depth is because they're blocked by star players. This has always been a Dodgers problem, right? They often will have good people that for most other teams are probably playing, but because you have, your top 3 in the lineup are MVPs and, you have a pretty deep lineup, it's not always availability for playing it. So it's always, the number of people you have on the top 100 list or top 50 list or whatever. It's always, I think it's important to make sure that you're not, you're represented. You don't want to be like, nope. I think the Astros had nobody. It's like, that's not good. Right. Yeah. But, you can see the bridge to the players that may even be prospects, if they weren't so good or if they weren't so, there wasn't a need with the Reds from a Lauder and a Burns side. You know what I mean? Like if we would have a full complement of pitching, those guys might still be in the minors. It might still be prospects. So it's give or take. I'm not too worried about it. Especially on the pitching side, I feel like this team has shown multiple years of being able to develop pitching, and I'm not too worried about that part.
Yeah, I think what gives me confidence, I'm looking at the end of season from MLB's top 100, and it's a lot. 3 out of the 6 on there aren't shortstops or pitchers, right? We have Sal Stewart is our top prospect, third base, second base, now first base. Alfredo Duno, catcher, and then you got Cam Collier, first base / third base. And typically, like shortstops have an advantage. If you're a high draft pick, you're going to be automatically thrown into the top 100 just based off of you being a shortstop and being athletic. But Carrick brings up in the chat about the ACL team next year. Like as someone who tries to cover the ACL a lot, they're going to be really good. Like, I don't know about like winning wise, but just like the talent on that team, you're going to see 3 guys on that team be future top 100 prospects. Like Adolfo Sanchez could be a top 100 prospect next year. If you go by the top 30, if you go past Cam Collier, who's the 6th ranked prospect on the team, you have Adolfo Sanchez, Arnaldo Lantigua, Shengen Lin, Liberts Aponte being a shortstop is going to climb. And then you got, the guys that are kind of under the radar guys in the DSL, like Pablo Nunez is going to be in the ACL. It's going to be in the ACL. He was a Dominican Summer League All-Star. And like he's got, I don't know if you saw the video that I tweeted the other day. but he's got a cannon from center field.
Oh, nice.
He's got an arm. He's smaller. I think he's about 5'10", 5'11", but he's got a rocket arm. And he's a pretty good left-handed hitter. And he, future could be there, 6 years down the line, but he's only 18. So like that's kind of what you get. Like Steel Hall, like who knows what he could be? He could be Trey Turner, or he could be, just your run-of-the-mill Garrett Hampson. Like he could be Garrett Hampson. Fast guy, doesn't hit. I mean, it's just you never know what you're going to get with these prospects. And I don't think a lot of people thought Leo Balcazar, 4 years ago was going to be the prospect that he is. And granted, he's only the 23rd ranked prospect on the team, but he had a career high on home runs this year between both levels. His power dipped once he hit Double-A and the fall league. I don't think he had a home run in the fall league, but he had 3 home runs in Double-A and he had 9 in Dayton. So I mean, like you don't know. And what I'm excited for the most is I want to see what Alfredo Duno does in high A pitching, not in the Florida State League, a ballpark that has carry, humidity. Like, how many home runs is he going to hit? But like his eye for the plate is what impresses me the most about Duno. Is like he had over 400 on base, and for a catcher, that's just incredible.
Yeah, I guess my thing is that we're talking about guys, like even like a Tyson Lewis and Daytona and whatnot, and even Carrick brings up like Iker Rodona is going to be ACL along with Aaron Watson, Christian Lopez. I don't know Merritt's first name, but like I guess that's my concern is that we're not getting a bunch of prospects on the top 100, meaning like our AAA and AA depth might not be there. I mean, Hector's great. I think he's undervalued. He probably should be at least pushing toward the top 100, maybe if he has a good start to the AAA season or whatnot. But like it feels like a lot of our guys are further down the pipe. Like we're talking about 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years from now, aside from Duno, who could be here sooner than later. But like, I guess that's my kind of thing. It's like it'd be nice to have like 6 guys on that top 100. That doesn't mean they're all going to pan out and whatnot. But at the same time, it's like the guys we're talking about are guys that were playing in Dominican League, and you don't hear about those guys coming up in the majors for a while.
Yeah, I understand that. I wouldn't say that the Reds are in an awful spot, but I think that maybe just puts a bow on why they need to add some free agency, because maybe in 2023 they had your Ellie De La Cruzes, your Noel V. Marte, your Matt McLean coming. You don't have that right now, right? You have Sal Stewart, who's here, and probably, barring total collapse in spring training, is on your opening day roster. And then you have a 19-year-old catcher who's probably going to start the year in Dayton. So it's like there's the cavalry is not coming, which is okay. You can go through ebbs and flows, but I think maybe then emphasizes why he's like, if you're going to support this team, you're going to have to do it through free agency.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just browsing through other teams. Like the Pirates, low key, have a really good farm system.
What is
Connor
it?
Griffin, who's the number 1 overall prospect. Which I mean, if you finish at the bottom of the league every year, you're going to get high draft picks. But
yeah,
Connor Griffin is projected. He's going to fight for a roster spot. I think they said next season, going into 26. Bubba Chandler, Seth Hernandez, they're all projected within the next 2 years. I don't know. Did Chandler make his debut this year?
Yeah, he did. He did. And he came in and I think he did a long relief. So I think he pitched 4
he started
innings
4 games
or
on
something
7.
like that, right?
Yeah.
So
he's a high potential guy for them. And then they have former Red prospect Sammy Safura as their 7th ranked prospect, who's projected in 2027. So I mean, they kind of bumped him up quick too. I think as soon as he got there, he went to their AA team. I think so. Look out for the Pirates, man. If they can keep Paul Skeens and a couple other guys together and keep the band together for a little bit, they could get a 4th place division spot.
Yeah.
Baseball America does this thing, which I don't understand. Maybe there's something there behind it. They do this 2029 projected roster, and it always comes up for me like in the Pirates. It's like the 2029 Pirates are going to be the greatest team ever because they're going to have Connor Griffin, they're going to have Skeens, they're going to have Bubba Chandler, they're going to have all these guys. And it's
Jared
like,
Jones back, all these people. Yeah.
I'm like, that's you know the Pirates are going to pirate and they're going to screw it up somehow. You know what I mean?
I don't
Like,
know, man. They had that run in 2010 through 14 where they put a decent team on the field.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they
it's
won
like,
a
it's like
wild
every
card game.
it's like every 25 years for the Pirates. So maybe they're coming up on that time frame, 2029, where they get a couple guys that just kind of pan out. Maybe, somebody's their next Andrew McCutcheon or something. You never know.
maybe
Baseball's a weird game.
Well, let's hope not.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Bob is still their owner, it's one thing we can share with the Pirates is fire Bob, is sell the team Bob.
Yeah. I think it's Marty's quote. Marty Brenneman's quote's always said, I think, the Pirates are going to be all well and good until they realize and look down that they're wearing loser colors, and they're going to realize that they're a bunch of losers. So it's the only thing that we can hold on to as being just a couple steps ahead of Pittsburgh in that hierarchy and that totem
That's great.
pole. So, but yeah, I don't know. You got anything else for our guest, Ricky? I don't know if you got any other takes you want to get off, Mike. This is our hot take time. Ricky usually's got a couple stashed away in his.
Yeah, I usually throw one out there. My one last week was like, I think Lodolo gets traded this offseason, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
Realistically, you kind of want them to because they're not going to extend him, and they're not. If they wait too long, you lose your value. So I guess if you can get him going, because his last year's this season, right? Or is it 2027?
I think he's got a couple more years for Lodolo. You said,
yeah,
I think he came up in 22.
Is it 7? For some reason,
Looking it up
26
now.
cent.
He is through 27. We have 2 more
Okay.
years of him.
So this would be the year to do it, because if you do it next year, especially if he pitches well, like
Very
that's,
temporary raise of you.
that's something that you want to move on
Yeah,
from
right.
if you have the opportunity to. Like if you have
Yeah.
Burns could be the replacement, or whoever else you draft or sign or whatever could be a replacement.
There's
Louder
There's
if he pitches.
also it feels like you're selling high. He just had a career year. It didn't end as well as we'd like, but he blew out of the water his career highs in innings pitched and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, do you think that he replicates it? I sure hope so, but I'm not putting a big bet on that, right? And it's just like, obviously, when he's right, the dude is, he's nasty. He's absolutely somebody I want coming in, starting a playoff game for me. But I don't know. If you're going to choose to be if you're going to be a small market team, which the Reds are, with his limited payroll, maybe that's something that you do to get creative. I do have a hot take though that I've been kind of working on. I don't know if I fully believe it or not, but I'll debut it with you guys.
Yeah.
What if the Reds just build super bullpen and that's all they do? They just spend all their money on bullpen and they run it back with the starting pitchers that they have and a Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Emilio Pagan bullpen, and roll with that. And you just hope you throw Benson and Hines out in left field.
Make it work.
Hope that you get bounce back years from McLean and Stevenson even, and you just say, hey, let's roll. So I don't know what your thoughts on that are. I don't think that's what I want them to do, but it would be funny if they just commit to the bit of just all right, we're just going all in on pitching. It's like the undervalued market for us is relievers. So we're going to get in the famously extremely volatile players out there that they win and go do. So I don't know. That's something what if they went and did super bullpen? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So you're looking at a bullpen of Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Pagan, Maxwell, May, Ashcraft, Santion. That's right-handed heavy.
Pretty good.
But that's really good.
You got money.
Caleb
to spend.
Ferguson. Go get Caleb
Ferguson.
Ferguson.
A lefty. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's your little sprinkle in there. Bring back Suter if you have to. He's your long man. But yeah, I like that.
Trade for River San Martin.
Trade for him back.
Dude, that I don't know if you caught that, but he we had Clay Snowden on.
Yeah.
And we were talking about him, and literally the next day it was he got claimed by the Giants.
Dude, hey, you never know. You never know. Roster cuts come through. They bring in a guy to be a Rule 5. He might not make it. He might not make the whole season on that. We could claim him right back. So,
And
you're. They say takes aren't wrong. They're just late, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, just like I wasn't wrong. It was just too early. So,
I pulled up Lane Thomas's stats in Cincinnati and signed him right now.
dude, he's got over. I think he had 1.1 OPS. He has. Oh, I don't. You've got it in front of you. You should read it.
310 batting average, 22 hits, 7 home runs, 17 RBIs, and 15 runs scored in 19 games.
I think he has he has more home runs at Great American Ballpark than he does in St. Louis, and he played for the Cardinals.
Yeah, he played for the Cardinals for what, two seasons?
So I think like the two teams he obviously has the most home runs at are Nationals Park and Progressive in Cleveland. But I think third is Great American, and he played for the Cardinals and not the Reds. So
That's funny. That's good. Yeah, why not? And shoot. That might be that bargain bin that you're talking about, Mike, for the Red Legs. Get him for cheap. But yeah, I don't know. The Super bullpen is interesting because I'll be surprised if Tony Santillan's arm doesn't fall off if he gets pitched the same way he did in 2025.
Right.
So they might need to give him a little bit of help. And then Barlow's not there to lean on either. So, like, I don't know. It might be a Ashcraft coming out 65, 70 games this year, potentially. If not, like a Luis May or Maxwell potential type coming out and throwing the bullpen super hard. But yeah, not a bad take. We can go full Tampa Bay Rays and trade all our guys in their last year of their contract, like Stevenson and Lodolo, and then basically just kind of like do openers every 5 days and just try to be the Tampa Bay Rays in Cincinnati.
Yeah, who knows? But to be honest, I said super bullpen and then I named off a bunch of people. I don't even know if the Reds would have enough money to sign all those people. So I think it just came across the wire that Raisel Iglesias just signed back with the Braves for 1 year, $16 million. So like,
man,
is he was 40?
if that's the the market in which we're going to be dealing with relievers, then
Luis May and Zach Maxwell, here we go.
Yeah, it's just like, let's hope that you guys can get your walk rate under control because we're going to need you to contribute.
Isn't he almost 40 years old, Raisel Iglesias? He's as old as me. But no, he's 37?
35 is what he is.
Okay. I feel someone else anyway.
He turns 36 in January.
All right. He just feels like he's been out there for 20 years pitching.
Had a pretty bad season last year.
Pretty sure he got save against the Reds when they went to Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely was not as good. He was a 1.95 ERA in 2024, and it jumped up this past year. Didn't have the great. It looks. I'm looking at his Savant page. It looks like stuff is still pretty good under the hood. A lot of red for within the StatCast numbers. So
yeah, he had a .99 WHIP, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, maybe got unlucky at the beginning of the year.
My hot take for the 2026 season is that the Reds are going to have to clinch a playoff spot August 31st because I don't know if you've seen that September schedule.
Yeah, it's not easy, man. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to earn it this year.
And then, the worst team with the worst record for 2025 purposes is the Atlanta Braves, who are not going to be as bad as that.
Yeah.
No, you're getting a Ronald Acuna Jr. all season.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not, but it'd be really, really tough sledding, as they say, trying to get through the Dodgers and the Cubs and the Brewers, and then finish off with the World Series appearance of Toronto Blue Jays. So, yeah, let's clinch in August.
If we're clinching in August, man, we've had the best season of our memory. If we're clinching in August, so like I'm fine with that. And if that's the case, they have to play the Reds. They have to play the juggernauts. We become the looming people on the schedule that everyone doesn't want to have to have to play against. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's going to be hard fought. The end of the year is tough. And I mean, what it's going to mean is they're going to have to make their hay at the beginning of the year. And we've seen that's not been the Reds' strong suit, like we got to make the hay against the bad teams. And we saw, we're going to lose series to the Nationals, to the Marlins, to the Pirates, and get swept by the Athletics. It's like, we can't let that happen again. We need to, if we're going to make the playoffs, this is not a hot take. You're going to have to beat the bad teams like that. Like that's just a thing you're going to need to do if you're going to be able to get there through whatever the end of the year gauntlet is. So, hopefully they're able to do that.
I got a hot take for you.
Oh, jeez.
Here we go.
This is going to be an insane take. I will 99% chance I'm wrong on this,
Okay.
but something just feels in my tummy that there is a chance that I could see the Dodgers not making the playoffs next year.
Okay.
I'm
going to give you a reason why. I'm going to give you a reason why. The Giants, in their history, are really good teams on even number years.
Even years, yeah.
Sure.
2026 is an even number year. The Padres just missed out by the division by 3 games. The Giants are going to improve. I give them 8 wins over this year. They're probably going to have close to 90. If I had to guess, and if the NL Central goes the way that we kind of hope it does, you're seeing the Brewers and the Cubs and the Reds fighting it out for a playoff spot. And who's to say that the Dodgers miss out on the 3rd wild card spot by half a game?
Did the Rockies move out of the NL West? Did that happen? Did those 10 free wins that they get every year, did those leave?
Yeah,
No?
but those
No.
10 free wins go to the Giants and the Padres as well.
That's fair, but not to the Reds, Brewers, and Cubs. So,
yeah.
No,
I'm just like I said, extremely hot take. I'm 99% chance gonna be wrong on this, but hey,
Yeah.
I will be on record as the first person to say that the Dodgers are not going to make the playoffs in 2026. But
when they go out and
win
trade
the
for
World
Tarek
Series,
Skubal,
they go sign that Japanese guy, the third baseman, was it Murakami or something like that?
They trade for Tarek Skubal and sign Cody Bellinger, and then it's just like, well, okay, here we are.
And they go out and win like 110 games.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. I think some betting house. I don't remember exactly which one it is anyway. But like they had them over under 104 wins, and they were way under that. And so I was like, I mean, obviously,
they had a lot of injuries this year too.
I mean, their formula now is like it only matters in the playoffs. So they were very fine with not having
wins.
a bye. Even they're just like, that's fine. We have the horses. We just need them to be ready in October. And I'd say it worked. So, having Ohtani healthy, having, that starting pitching staff healthy basically throughout the playoffs is the reason they won, So, maybe take the under on the win total. Think they're probably still making the playoffs and are probably still the World Series favorite.
I'll give you 2 more teams that have a better year next year too.
Okay, better year than the Dodgers, or just a better?
Well, just
year?
in general.
Oh, okay.
The Mets are going to have a better year next year. You don't have that team and be that bad. I mean, not as in that bad. They finished 13 games out of their division, but the Braves. I think the Braves are a sneaky 90-win team, and like I said, if the Giants can get to 89, 90 wins, and the Braves can get up there to about 88, 86, the Mets, go a little bit better than last year. I mean, like, who's to say that, 90 wins isn't enough to be the 3rd wild card?
Yeah. And the Phillies
Which sucks for us
because the Reds stole Kyle Schwarber from them. Don't forget about that one.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we gotta get these takes out so that way we can clip it later.
That's right. I'm fine with that. Yeah, go ahead.
Get out there. Get all the takes out there so that we're
Super Bowl pen, man. Nobody's on that one yet. No one's on that one yet.
We'll bookmark this. Make sure that we got that so that when Devin Williams comes to Cincinnati, Mike's gonna be right there.
That's right. It's like I told you. And then when he maybe doesn't do very well, then we'll just forget that I wanted I wanted Super Bowl pen.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe the Castellinis win the lottery and they hit that $4 billion jackpot and we go sign somebody else too.
Go figure, man. I
Sure.
don't know if the Castellinis play the lottery. Now,
They
them
should.
winning the lottery is somebody wanting to buy the team. So maybe that does happen.
That
You know?
it makes me wonder, and then we can stop. But you saying that, like, I wonder if there is interest, but they just shut it down because they seem pretty keen on wanting to keep the team. Because we all remember the comments from 2022.
Where are you gonna go?
Where are you gonna go? It's like, well, where are you gonna go? Because we don't want you guys here. And I don't think Major League Baseball would move the Reds. I just don't see it.
No. I think they're more in the camp of they're glad to have the team, but they've seen how the Twins have had not much success selling the team, and the Orioles, I think, got less than what they were wanting. Like they got 1.2 bill because they see the valuations of the NFL and the NBA, and they're probably hoping, praying that it gets to that point sometime, and maybe it will in many, many years' time because, I don't know, baseball's been on kind of a little bit of a uptick with viewership and whatnot and attendance. So maybe in 10 years' time, but yeah, I don't know. And the other thing is, Rick, we don't know exactly how much they own of the team. There's like 10 to 15 other parties that are partial owners in that team. And I think we figured it was like 37, 41% that the Castellinis own. So they're not necessarily, I don't know, they're not on the hook for all the fault because it seems like it's a super group of owners and whatnot. But I don't know. They're definitely the front facing, especially when the son is the CEO, Mr. Phil. So,
yeah.
I don't know. We just need some billionaire to want to, let his hobby be spending on the Reds. Mark
Cuban got denied by the Cubs, 10, 12 years ago? Like, he was supposed to be the Cubs owner, and then he went for the Pirates. He tried to buy the Pirates, too.
Yeah.
Like,
isn't he from Pittsburgh or something like that?
Yeah. So, we'll take Mark Cuban. I mean, he's maybe a little bit of a nutcase at times, but maybe, it hasn't really worked out for the, Stevie Cohn and the Mets having a super fan as your boss.
Here's the thing. I don't need a $350 million payroll like they've got. Just give me 150. Just give me 165.
Have the ability to sign somebody who's a notable free agent. Like I don't want my big move being a Jamer Candelario or a Mike Moustakas. I want my move being like a top 7 available player.
Right.
A needle mover, if you will.
Yeah. Have the availability to be able to go and get a Schwarber deal done. Because as much as we want it, I think we would all probably put the likelihood at probably still pretty low just because we just don't see that they're going to be able to pony up the cash. And it's like, I'd love to be able to have somebody that would maybe, you don't do it all the time, but do it, but have the availability to do it sometimes. And unfortunately, the Cincinnati fans are cursed with some of the greatest owners in both their baseball and their football franchise that are, we just kind of have to deal with the fact that they run it like a family business and not like a billionaire hobby. So,
yeah.
And for the next hour, we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Now,
yeah. Oh God, I don't know. I don't want to subject ourselves to that. Yeah. But all right. On that note, if you got nothing else, guys, Ricky and Mike, we usually sign off with a Go Reds. So really appreciative again of your time, Mike, and coming on.
Yeah, no
plug your stuff, Mike. Plug your stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I do sometimes Nick Kirby texts me and asks if I want to do a baseball video on Chatterbox Sports. So that's about what I do.
Talking Bengals.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, you're right. I do help. I will get on there for the pregame and postgame. Sometimes for the Bengals, there's kind of like a rotation of guys that do that. Those guys over there, what they do watching play-by-play every single game, that's impressive to me. I could not do that. My family would not be happy if that is what I did. But
could you imagine if we did that for the baseball games?
Golly. I mean, they did it for the playoff games.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would get kind of boring to like I don't know
Like, here's
who
a
wants to watch that
2-2
but
count by Brady
yeah.
Singer facing Lane Thomas.
Exactly. So I'm glad they do the ninth inning thing for them too. But so I've been helping out with Chatterbox as well. I'm not like one of their main personalities. I just like coming on and talking about the Reds. I make an appearance every once in a while on social medias, but I'm not a huge poster of things either. So I like to consume it, not really add into it because sometimes it can be a wild and crazy place. So that's where I think it's what Mike Hart 7 is where I'm at on X, the everything app. So that's about what I'm into. I appreciate you guys having me. I love talking about this type of stuff. It's fun to be able to talk about the crazy Arizona Fall League and what the ACL roster is going to look like, but as well as, what potential free agent rosters are going to be. So I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. It was a blast.
Yeah. Thanks again, Mike, for your time. We'd love to have you again, maybe when we get closer to the season or whatnot.
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
breaking news. Maybe when your guy Kyle Schwarber signs, we'll have you on and we'll get you have your thoughts and whatnot.
Or Devin Williams.
I had a friend in high school who was in show choir with Kyle Schwarber at Middletown High School. He had a very, very, very fun picture of Kyle Schwarber in high school, like in one of those like glammed up purple vests and stuff like that in show choir. So
that's crazy.
That's my nugget on Kyle Schwarber.
So you're saying we need to have Bronson Arroyo trying to recruit him here too.
Yeah, maybe he's on the pitch too. Yeah. So
that's crazy. That's awesome. Yeah. I didn't know he did show choir. That's a fun fact. Maybe we gotta somehow figure out and get that.
I don't know if that helps or hurts him wanting to come here.
If you still have contact with that person, I would love to see a photo. And if he does sign, I will put it in an article on SI.
That's great. That's great. I'll see if I can dig something up.
All right. And until we get that photo, we'll sign off and say go Reds.
Go Reds.
Go Reds.